R. Kelly wasn't one of the original writers on the record. The only person I reached out to Trey Songz, like personally.
Okay.
And Trey was the only one that sent the verse back.
Now, in 2008, you released a song, Customer.
Mm-hmm.
How well did that perform for you? Like, how is that your most successful song?
That was my Customer was my most successful urban record.
Okay.
You know, urban radio, which is a totally demographic from urban AC. You know, I came in the game young, you know, but pushed or put in a pile of like the neo soul artists, you know, per se, versus like, you know, but I feel like I've always been the perfect gumbo of R&B, soul music, a lot of different influences when you listen to my first album, so much that I coined myself the R&B hippie neo soul rock star.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Back in, you know, 2004, 03, 05, somewhere around that time, you know, making mixtapes and stuff like that. So, but the reason I coined it that was because, you know, I figured out early in this game that if you don't know who you are, you know, especially going into dealing with, you know, major corporations and taking those loans, you know, record companies, publishing deals, all the things. If you don't know who you are as an artist, you definitely can lose yourself, or you kind of become like a puppet. You know, put the battery in your back, you'll be an industry puppet, kind of be told what to do, don't really know, you know. So I was always on just like really kind of being in environments where iron sharpens iron, just knowing who I am, even if, you know, even if everybody else in the room didn't know. You know, couldn't quite figure it out, you know what I mean? So so with that being said, Woman, which was on the same album, the Love Behind the Melody album, Woman was my first #1 at Urban AC Radio. Okay. For like a whole summer, me and Raheem, you know, battling for the charts.
Right.
And then Customer was my first, you know, top 10 urban record.
Yeah.
You know?
I think a misconception sometimes is that when we see artists reach a certain level, especially when they first start off, is like, oh, they must be millionaires. What kind of money did you see come from that at the time? Did your life change? Were you still kind of like kind of on the come up, struggling when Customer was out?
Man, I mean, I'm just in a space where I feel like I'm seeing the fruits of the labor. You know what I mean? But I also feel like, you know, back then, the younger me, if I could talk to the younger me, it would be like, don't chase the money. Like, you know, don't try to chase money. You know, I did know the OG lessons of, you know, don't make decisions based upon money.
Right.
The money you want or the money you don't have.
So before that you were?
Not so much, but, you know, there's a difference between making decisions based upon money. It's another thing to like be chasing the dollar and like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, now understanding that like, you know, whatever you manifest, it finds you easily.
Right.
You know what I mean? And being true to the craft. And, you know, the thing is finding something that you love, right? And when you find something that you love and you put the amount of hours into it that I have, you know, on stage and off stage, the money will find you. You know, the business will find you.
Fair.
You know?
Fair. Now, I'm looking at the credits of Customer, and this is my disclaimer. This is, you know, getting to a touchy subject.
Okay, yeah.
But I do see R. Kelly listed here as one of the songwriters. How was that process working with him? And then I'll just kind of start there.
All right, so R. Kelly wasn't one of the original writers on the record. Let's just start there. So, you know, shout out to Tight Writer out of Philly. Shout out to Carvin and Ivan. Yep. You know, Carvin's whose penmanship, you know, that whole little crew, it speaks for themselves. They got a lot of different accolades. You know, I met them originally through DJ Jazzy Jeff, who had a camp of producers. He had like a playground for for creatives, you know what I mean, in Philly when I first met them. And yeah, so that's how we kind of connected. Customer, the night that we made Customer, Customer was already probably 90% of the record was already done, and there was a reference that Typewriter on one of the typewriter on the record. She had did the reference.
Okay.
I was working on the Love Behind the Melody album with them in Philly, and the session was almost over. Like we had already knocked out some stuff that was going to be on the album, and then they pulled up some records and were like, "Hey, we got a couple of records. We want you to, you can write on them, and we'll shop them and whatever." When they played Customer, I was like, "Yo, pull that up," and I cut the record, and then I wrote the bridge on the record.
Okay.
Right. But in all fairness, in all honesty, the hard part, the most important part, was already done, which was the hook. I mean, and I knew that night what it was. I knew as soon as I heard it. Record comes out, single does what it does, record goes top 10, and we were actively, as a camp, myself, my manager, reaching out to different artists to jump on the record at the time. We reached out to. I know we reached out to I think we reached out to Jay Holiday, who was popping, killing it at the time. He had the Bed record. Him being from DC, we thought it'd just be like a dope idea. Somehow or another, we got the word that they declined, like his managers declined to do it, whatever.
Yep.
And we reached out to a lot of people. I think we reached out to like Music Soul Child Camp. I reached out to some people on my end. The only person I reached out to Trey Songz, like personally.
Okay.
And Trey was the only one that sent the verse back. Like literally, he sent the verse to me on like, it might have been like a Friday. I was in New York. I would never forget it. We were doing a photo shoot for Rockport, myself and Terrence J.
Okay.
At the time, he's on 106 Park. Things popping. So literally, like I wake up, like Trey shoots me the remix and the verse he did, boom. And so we doing a photo shoot, and so management's trying to get the files or whatever. Turn on High 97, and the remix comes on with R. Kelly on it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how that, kind of.
When did R. Kelly get into the picture?
Whenever he got the record and just chopped it up and he added himself to the record, you know what I mean?
How did you react to that, given that it wasn't necessarily your decision?
I was torn because it was, at the time, there was a lot of controversy about all the things that, came to light now.
Yeah.
And but the whispers were always, always there.
In the industry.
What I mean? Yeah. And then there was a period where, in transparency, where the label and previous management, like I was the only artist that declined to go to work with them in Chicago.
Copy. Why
on
is
the label?
that?
So for a number of reasons, like I feel like I had my own sound. I feel like call it maybe at the time, maybe arrogance, maybe a confidence.
Yeah.
But I just I didn't feel like I needed to go sit in Chicago for 3 days and wait in the studio for somebody to come to do something that I can do in 3 days. I can have a whole album done. Another, you know what I mean? Like, like I'm very much, so I've been told, like a machine in there at that caliber, and when it comes to creativity of him and, Tupac or different things that, I never got a chance to meet Pac, you know what I mean? But I heard about the work ethic, you know what I mean? So I get, but not having a concept of time, like I just get,
Understood.
I just get lost in, in the creativity of it all and what have you, But I was the only artist who did not, it got real political too at one point, you know what I mean? But I stood my ground, like, I don't think it was ever, I don't think it was to a magnitude where they were like, hey, we're gonna drop you. You know what I mean? Because I had top 10 record too at the time.
Right.
I had top 10
Right.
and I just delivered the number one on my own, with my own penmanship or with my own, with my own.
You seem like you wanted to make a name for yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to make a name for myself, you know what I mean? Like, although that was, definitely somebody that, I remember being the day when we sat down, and when I realized like, okay, this is I'm about to be on the same label as like all the greats, and you know, the creme de la creme of R&B and hip hop. Cause I'm a hip hop head too. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So ironically, boom, we in New York. It comes on, you know, and it I felt the way about a couple of things, couple of lines on the record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But ultimately, it cost me nothing. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of people that can say that they, you know, wrote a record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or had, you know, basically he beat Jacked, you know, my record, which was a formula a concept that I'm like, you know, that I created too.
Right.
You know, I'm the first soul R&B singer to make mixtapes.